What's going on, traders? In this video, I'm going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about volume profile. I'm going to talk about how I utilize it in my trading, back test it with you guys, and show you my settings, how you can set it up the same way that I have it on my chart. And before we jump right into it, here is my YouTube profile. I trade live on YouTube almost every day, 100% free. You don't have to guess whether or not I know what I'm talking about because you can just watch me trade and decide that for yourself. I'm here almost every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, trading with volume profile, a very similar approach to what I'm about to show you on the charts in replay mode. Along with that, I run a 100% free trading Discord. Over almost 2,000 members, over 1,800 members in here, sharing their analysis, their journey, the good, the bad. I answer questions. Awesome active community. If you're in here watching from Discord, I appreciate you. If you're not, feel free to hop in. Not a VIP feeder program where I try to sell you a bunch of courses or anything like that. 100% free. Now that we're on the chart here, this is the 15-minute ES chart, but what we are looking at here is the volume profile. Now, there's a number of different volume profiles. I'm going to talk about the two that I use. What you're looking at here on the right-hand side of the screen is called the visible range volume profile. The reason it's called visible range is based on how it's displayed. If I display more or less price action and market structure, you can see the volume profile shift. Hence, visible range, right? If I zoom in like this and we only display this amount of price action and market structure, eventually it will reset and we are only displaying this within the visible range. If you wanted to add this to your chart, you would come up here to indicators and type in visible range, visible range volume profile. That's it right there. So just to give you the settings on this one exactly, which I often get asked about, we will go over here, click settings. I have the row size set to 250, a little bit more granular view. I adjust that back and forth, usually over the 200 level, just based on, kind of how exactly I want to see it. I'm not too particular with it, but something more than the big blocky stuff that it comes with. I have it pushed over to the right-hand side here, 25%. Again, just kicks it over to the right-hand side. And then here's my colors. If you want it exactly the same way, you could pause it at any point right here and get my exact setup. And this is really, really solid for zoomed out on the higher time frames or even zoomed in on the lower time frames. But one disadvantage that you have here is it is dynamic. It moves with the amount of price action and market structure that you're showing. So if you wanted something that was more consistent, what I would recommend and what I utilize is the fixed range volume profile. How you find that is over here on the right-hand side, under projection. Under the projection, forecast, and measurement tools here with TradingView, we are going to go down to fixed range volume profile. And it's essentially the same thing, but not for the visible range. It's for a fixed range. So I'm going to click this right here and show you how I might set this up. You can take your tool here, right? I have it clicked, so it's ready to be loaded. And let's say I want to get the fixed range volume profile, the volume profile, for regular trading session hours yesterday, which would be Thursday, April 24th, today's the 25th, from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Because this is actually a volume profile that I use in my trading every day live on YouTube. So I would click right here at 9:30. You can see down on the bottom of the chart, it does say 9:30 a.m. Eastern. I would click there and drag out. Now, one thing to note, it doesn't matter if you anchor it higher or lower above price. It's just a time anchor, right? It's just a range of time. So we're going to go from 9:30 to 4 p.m. Eastern. That's going to give us another volume profile, right? This is the fixed range for this area. Now, what I like to do and how I note a couple different important pieces on here, right? We're just kind of talking about what these display, getting into what it is and how you can utilize it. This is a horizontal display of volume, and we're looking at areas of high volume here and areas of low volume here, right? Same thing over here, area of high volume right here, and you can see how it coincides with price action and market structure, right? Where a lot of transaction has been taking place, transactions, a lot of volume has been traded, and areas of low volume where we have not a lot of volume traded, right? Not a lot of transacting being done. You can see that based on, price slicing through and not a whole lot of stuff outside of that. These areas, just to talk about it in the very simple way that I use it, the dumb guy way that I use it, these areas act like support resistance, supply demand, order blocks, whatever you want to call them, areas of interest on the chart. That's what I like to call them because it's very, very general. Price likes to return to these levels. When it does, we often see some pause, right? It's an area where we might find buyers and sellers. And I use that in my trading for a way to structure risk, maybe anticipate some direction out of the market, or at very least be aware of an area that I want to be paying attention to. Now, you have a couple more things on here outside of just the, the high and low volume areas. The obvious one is, and stands right out here, is going to be the volume point of control. This is the highest area of volume based on what you're displaying here, or for the fixed range based on that range, right? So this is called the point of control, area of highest volume. It just sends a line outside of the volume profile right across the chart showing you, hey, right here, right now, this is the area of highest volume. On the visible range, we often call it the temporary volume point of control because it moves around, right? And if you're displaying information as price is printing, it's temporary, right? There's a chance for it to continue to, move and adjust. Along with that, you have value area high and value area low. I'm going to show it on the fixed range just because it's pretty clear. You can see the shaded area in between here. The top end of that is your value area high, because this would be the value area, and then your value area low. What I do for the fixed range on prior day often, and I'll do this for the weekly sometimes, I kind of adjust back and forth, is I'll physically mark out with a line the value area high, and I'll mark out the value area low. Along with that, I'll mark out the volume point of control from prior day. That prior day's volume profile can give me a good idea of where we're at within that range, where we might move to, kind of what that looked like. And then the visible range volume profile, which I'm really using more primarily now, especially zoomed out on the 15-minute, gives me these really, really large areas, more zoomed out. Again, a little bit more dynamic, not as consistent to just what happened within one range as I zoom in and out, but gives me a really, really good area of what I want to look at and, where I want to pay attention to on the chart. So that's the detailed breakdown. Let's go ahead and throw TradingView in replay mode. And I think what I'm going to do here, I said I was going to backtest, but I think what I'm going to do here is just mark out some of these zones with you guys, on a random day and kind of watch how price reacts to them or doesn't react to them, right? So let's go, not select a day. Let's go random bar here on the 15-minute chart. This is an insane distance back. Let's see if we can not go 47 years back. Yeah, okay, that's still super far back. All right, well, we're just going to work with it here. Sometimes the volume gets a little bit, it doesn't like to display if you go really, really, really far back in time. So we got a pretty interesting structure here. And what we're going to do is just take a look at these areas of high volume, right? So if I was utilizing my 15-minute chart and I was zooming out a little bit and I was looking at the volume profile, what areas on the chart might I want to pay attention to, right? Well, I think I'm going to pay attention to the areas of high volume, and I'm going to mark them off with a nice zone right here, right? I did that by coming over here, grabbing this tool right here, which is just my rectangle tool. It's under the shapes, very simple. I have it extending to the right, simple setting in there. I can actually show you that real quick, just so you guys know everything that I got going on here. Whoa, let's go to settings, style, extend right there. So I'm going to mark that area off right here. I'm not going to mark off the area that we're at. That's pretty obvious. I'm going to mark this area off right here. And you can also kind of see, if you're looking at this as I'm marking it and where these are coming from, they act as support and resistance zones, right? Price action and market structure often returns to these areas many times, hence the high volume that's traded there. And then after it returns there, it often moves through areas of low volume very quickly, right, to the next area of high volume. So, there's a whole bunch of narrative behind why that happens and, how that happens. I just like to talk about things from a very technical standpoint, pattern recognition, right? Because I think it's as simple as that for me in the way that I trade. So let's go ahead and play this chart forward. So, if I was trading today, right, maybe into whatever trading session hours, I might notice this as an uptrend. I'd say to the upside, this could be a potential target right here. To the downside, if we pull back, this could be a potential target. We've been chopping here, putting a lot of volume in right here. If we come outside of this zone, I think we trade towards the top end of this or to the downside to the bottom end of this. So we'll kind of play the chart forward. There we go. We do trade to the upside. Let's see what happens, right? Do we just completely disrespect this zone? Do we find any sellers here? Do we want to hang out here for a little bit? Or do we just drift right higher, right? Oftentimes we do. Okay, so today we didn't, right? We came out of this area and we came harshly back in through this area of low volume. So, we're pretty zoomed out on the 15-minute chart, but you could start to see, how we're hanging out around this volume point of control so many times, how when we broke, we didn't just run through. If we break, what's another area to the upside? I'd be looking at this right here, right? If we, break through and we are going to continue higher, I'd be looking at this area on the volume profile to say, I think we're going to get through there pretty quickly. So we are coming into overnight session hours, but let's just play it forward to the downside. Another area to retest down here into this zone, right? Take a look at that. We retest this zone. And again, nothing magical here, right, guys? Like this doesn't happen every day. It's not going to happen every time. There's zones. It's not a specific price, a level on the chart. They are an area, but you can see how price reacts, right? Like, is it somehow magical that right in the middle of my zone, we came down, tested, and then we immediately bounced, a decent amount relative to this old price action that we're looking at from years and years ago, 22 ticks. No, right? Area of high volume. We bounced off, came back up to this area of high volume right here. Pretty simple stuff. So, okay, we test it multiple times. We don't want to get below it, right? Look at how cleanly this one worked out. It's great that I'm getting a good example. Again, I'm not cherry picking this. If you're watching it, you get the random test. Again, it doesn't always work this way. And I like to repeat myself on that because you might throw this on your chart. You go to backtest it. You mark off a couple zones and the first one gets just completely disrespected. That's part of price action and the way that the market moves, right? It's irrational in the short term. On the long term, I think you'll find some consistency backtesting this. But after you finish watching the video, after we go through a little bit more of this, I encourage you to do that for yourself. But take a look. Tested really, really cleanly. Simple area on the chart based off of an area of volume, right? You can completely forget about all of this stuff if you wanted to and just mark off the volume profile. But being aware of these levels and having really, really clean areas to pay attention to has really helped me this year, especially on the U.S. indices over the past over a year with the volume profile. Okay, so we moved pretty fast. So we come up to the upside today, right? And we really blast outside of this zone. We hardly respect it. We just kind of do a little break and retest, but there's an example of where we kind of just run it. Now, what's the next area that I'm looking at where we're going to likely reach or potentially reach and maybe find some resistance? I think up here. Could be as low as down here. Maybe we turn right here. Let's see. We'll kind of watch how this one plays out, right? Okay, take a look. We test this area of volume, and we have the largest pullback of the day, right? If I just look objectively, the second largest I'd say would be right here from the overnight session right here, about 16 ticks. We pull all the way back right off the bat, 28 ticks. So let's play this forward. We obviously find some resistance there. Not only 28 ticks, we come way off of it, right? We come right into that area of high volume. We pull back like 36 ticks, which on a day like today, right, based on this price action market structure, that's significant. Again, magic? No. We found it right off of an area of high volume. Very, very simple stuff. Now, let's just get an area above, because if we keep running to the upside, let's say, what's the next area past that we might go and hit? If I'm trading this, take a wild guess, guys. Look at that right over on the right-hand side. Next area of high volume. Above that would be way up here. I'd probably want to start zooming out a little bit more. If I zoom out too much, this is really going to shift what this looks like. So I'm not going to do it too much, but yeah, right up here would be the next area. So let's see. Do we come back down here or here, right? I didn't mark a zone here like I talked about, but this is our temporary volume point of control. Big high volume area down here. We sell off. That's where I think we're headed. We continue the upside. This is where I think we're headed. But for now, looks like we might want to hang out around here. But we got a nice break and retest. We got bullish structure. Okay, so we try it again, right? We come up, we chop a lot right there. Whoa. Let's let that reset. I scrolled in and out too many times. Okay, so we end up hanging out right there. We finish the day. We close the day at that level. Again, I'm just going to play it forward a little bit more so we can see if we come up to that level, what happens. We test this level multiple times, right? And then look where we head very quickly. So this was a great example. I'm telling you, you could watch my stuff. I don't cherry pick stuff. Random example of kind of how this plays out. My volume profile is not reloading for some reason, but I'm just going to continue on with it. You could also tell that, right, if I was going to cherry pick it, I'd probably not want to continue with that going on. But you can watch how this was tested so many times. We closed there, respected super cleanly as support. And then we come up to this area very quickly, right? Through the overnight session. This isn't even like a New York Open. When we get there, let's just watch for a little bit longer. We break and retest it pretty quickly. We don't really respect it a ton. We blast through it, but not before a break and retest, right? Not before a nice 15-minute pullback, breaking above, pulling back down, right? Dead set to the middle of that zone, and then continuing to the upside. Let's see. We have to come back down to it again. Do we find some buyers there and continue, or do we sell off harshly, right? Nope, we close the day at the next one. So again, guys, this is the basic way that I use this tool, right? Areas of interest. There's plenty of ways you could identify levels. You can use support and resistance based off market structure. You can use order flow. You can use a ton of different stuff. I think volume profile complements a lot of those things. So even if you are using one of those, throw in a volume profile on your chart, and you could even make it like plainer colors than this, or a little bit, more transparent. I think can be really helpful. I think these levels, especially here on ES and the US indices, are very well respected. Price seems to like to move just based on very basic pattern recognition through areas of low volume quickly and get to areas of high volume, and then find some resistance, some support, and maybe sweep above or below, right? Because they are just zones, but give you really, really clear areas to be aware of, to trade to and from, to structure risk to and from. If you guys like this video, man, feel free, smash subscribe. I'm here every day, almost every day, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, trading live, showing you what this looks like in the live environment, and putting out a ton more videos like this. Smash like. You don't have to do anything. Do whatever you want. But remember, guys, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing you see or hear from me is financial advice, not a suggestion or recommendation to do anything at all. Trading's risky. Almost all traders lose money. If you trade, you're probably going to lose money. Make sure you do your own research. Make your own trading decisions. Read CFTC Rule 4.41 on simulated trading, which is what this is, even in funded prop firm accounts, and the affiliate and partnership disclaimer that says I stand to make money from links in my content. See you guys trading live.